There's a certain type of person who walks into a room and barely does anything, yet somehow controls the whole vibe. They don't overshare, they don't react fast, they don't chase attention. And, without trying, but here's what people rarely say. Your brain often mistakes silence for value. They seem important. You've felt this before. There's this quiet pull towards someone who hasn't even proven anything. When someone gives very little information, your mind doesn't think there's nothing there. It thinks there's something missing. And the brain hates unfinished patterns. So it starts filling in the blanks. It imagines depth, status, intelligence, emotional control. The less they show, the more you project onto them. And this goes deeper than just perception. Unpredictability triggers dopamine. When you can't fully read someone, when their reactions are delayed and their emotions are controlled, your attention locks in. You start looking for meaning. You invest more energy. You start caring more. They didn't earn that investment through action. Your nervous system gave it to them. That's the mechanism. What looks like natural confidence is often controlled scarcity. What feels like mystery is often just leaving things out on purpose. And if you don't see this early, you end up giving power to simple restraint. Once you understand how your brain reacts to uncertainty, you start seeing this pattern everywhere. In dating, in business, in leadership. Even in that friend who talks the least, but somehow influences the most. After you see it, silence won't feel neutral anymore. You've seen this person before. They walk into a room and say almost nothing. They don't try to impress anyone. They don't explain themselves. They laugh lightly, they move calmly, and somehow people lean in. Here's the uncomfortable truth. They haven't actually shown anything impressive. No big achievements, no dramatic stories, no obvious talent on display. Yet the room shifts around them. Most people are taught the opposite. Speak more, share more, prove yourself, show your skills, tell your story. If you want respect, show your value. Then someone breaks that rule. They give less and get more attention. This is where perception takes over. When someone limits what they reveal, your brain doesn't see emptiness. It sees possibility. Silence feels like unknown data, and unknown data creates tension. Your mind wants to resolve it. Imagine two people at a party. The first explains their job in full detail right away. The second gives a short answer and changes the subject. The first feels open and clear. The second feels layered. Not because they are deeper, but because you don't have the full picture. Holding back creates space, and that space becomes leverage. People often mistake this for confidence. They think if they're not trying to prove anything, they must not need to. The lack of effort looks like hidden strength. That's where the illusion starts. And in social settings, mystery often gets confused with power. Less expression looks like control. Fewer reactions look disciplined. Saying little looks mysterious. To really understand this, you have to look at how the brain decides what has value. Research on the scarcity effect shows something simple. When something feels limited, we want it more. This applies to products, opportunities, and even people. When access drops, perceived value. Silence creates scarcity of information. If someone tells you everything about themselves right away, your brain relaxes. It feels complete. There's nothing left to figure out. But when someone gives small pieces, short answers, limited details, delayed replies, the loop stays open. Your mind keeps searching, and that search activates the reward system. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz found that dopamine spikes more with unexpected rewards than predictable ones. When the brain can't predict what will happen, it pays more attention. Now apply that to people. If someone replies instantly, reacts in normal ways, and shows steady emotions, the interaction becomes predictable. Over time, attention fades. But if their responses are sometimes warm, sometimes distant, your brain becomes alert. What's going on? What will happen next? That uncertainty increases focus. It can even feel magnetic. Delayed replies feel powerful for this reason. It's not the delay itself. It's the uncertainty during the wait. Your mind fills the gap. So in simple terms, predictability lowers stimulation. Uncertainty raises it. They're just harder to predict, and your brain is wired to chase what it can't easily map out. Someone who speaks less, reacts less, and reveals less isn't automatically more interesting. Scarcity plus unpredictability equals higher perceived value. It feels emotional, but the system behind it is biological. There's another layer to this: emotional control. In studies of primates, high-ranking members react less. They don't flinch easily. They don't overreact. Their movements are controlled. Lower-ranking members show more nervous energy and quick reactions. Humans still respond to these signals. When someone stays calm under pressure, we see them as capable. If they don't rush to defend themselves or argue back, they seem secure. Calm behavior sends a status signal. Picture two employees getting criticized in a meeting. One immediately explains and defends. The other listens, nods, and gives a short response. Even if both are equally skilled, the second often appears more confident. Quick emotional reactions show you care a lot about approval. Controlled responses suggest stability. Over-explaining can lower perceived status because it looks like you're worried about judgment. Emotional restraint also creates contrast. If someone rarely reacts strongly, then when they do show excitement or praise, it feels more powerful. Their reactions become rare and valuable. This doesn't mean hiding emotions is healthy. It just means people often see low reactivity as strength, and they make that judgment fast without even realizing it. Someone using dark riz might simply show less emotion. Others read that as discipline, confidence, and self-control. In social settings, the person who seems least emotionally dependent on the room often appears to lead it. And that perception alone can shift power. When someone reveals very little, your mind doesn't stay neutral. It starts filling in the blanks. There's something called the halo effect. It means that one positive trait can shape how we see everything else about a person. If someone looks calm or attractive, we often assume they're also smart, capable, and deep. The brain likes consistent stories. Ambiguity makes this stronger. When details are clear, there's less room to imagine. When answers are vague, you supply the missing pieces, and those pieces usually match your own ideals. If someone says almost nothing about their job, but dresses sharp and speaks calmly, people may assume high status. If they avoid talking about relationships, others may assume depth or complexity. These ideas aren't based on proof. They're projections. Attachment style can make this even stronger. Your brain doesn't like unfinished patterns, so it completes them on its own. People who are sensitive to mixed signals focus more when someone is inconsistent. If a person feels close one moment and distant the next, the emotional investment increases. They try harder to decode what's happening. Less information often leads to more mental effort from the observer. And here's the trap. The quiet person may not have special depth or skill, but others have built a strong image around them, and that image feels real. Silence becomes a blank screen. Other people project their ideals onto it. And once someone builds that image in their mind, they often defend it themselves. Now that you see the mechanics, the pattern is clear. Dark Riz is controlled information, controlled timing, and controlled emotion. In real life, it looks simple. Don't give extra details that aren't needed. Answer questions clearly, then stop. If someone asks about your job, give one sentence. Let them ask for more. Slow down your responses. This isn't about playing games. It's about removing the urge to react instantly. Pause before replying. In texts, don't be constantly available. When responses are instant and predictable, perceived value drops. Manage visible emotion. Stay balanced in praise and criticism. If you're irritated, think before responding. Emotional steadiness signals control. But there's a limit. If you overdo it, you create distance. Distance can create intrigue, but it can also kill trust. Power without warmth leads to isolation. If you want to protect yourself from this tactic, stay clear-minded. Ask follow-up questions when someone stays vague. Look for consistency over time. Watch how they act under pressure. Actions should match the image. Here's the key shift. Silence itself isn't power. Power comes from how silence shapes perception. Once you see the mechanism, the illusion weakens. And when you stop reacting automatically, you start choosing your responses on purpose.